To God be the glory. Respected Reverend Dr. Rustum Khizer Hein Jaffrey, DD PhD, Advisor International Mission Director, and every day I am reading Pastor's writing. Today is 42, portion 42. Portion 43. I am sorry. Today is 42. And Book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that heareth the word of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Introduction. A Book of Revelation, the strangest book in the Bible, feels himself projected into the different world. The whole book is unique, and it is be strange. Difficult book, people tend to leave it alone. They read the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters, yet it is still the most neglected book by churchgoers. Little uneasy, do not feel at home, strange pages, low opinions, notoriously difficult for the modern mind to understand. Being opinion abundant as a quite unintelligible, and at the time I will become the playground of who are out to map out celestial timetable and what to come, or find evidence from their own eccentricities, human opinion about the revelation, what the other people, the opinion. One commentator said, as many riddles as words, frago madly, or the hatchpatch, a confusion mixture of jumble, or the baseless fantasy, haphazard accumulation of weird symbols. And it either finds man mad or leaves him mad. Martin Luther, it is a pity it ever got into the New Testament. On the high side, the only masterpiece of the pure art in the New Testament, William Broccoli, it is infinitely worthwhile to wrestle with until it gives its blessings and opens its riches to us, beautiful beyond description. And he said about the Revelation, Book of Revelation, outside human opinion, from the low to the highest, Satan detests the loathes this book, and be another. Genesis reveals is a terrible evil display in the Garden of Eden, while Revelation speaks about his final doom and destiny. And he hates you to know that one day he will be cast into the lake of fire forever. Revelation 20:10. God's opinion, what God said about the book, that he says about no other book in the whole Bible, pronounced both cursing, blessing and a curse. Who tempered with it, read with a great reverence and interest. Apocalyptic literature between the Old Testament and the New Testament grew up a great mass, what is called apocalyptical literature, product of an indestructible Jewish hope. The Jewish could not forget that they were the chosen people of God. To them, they believed with a great certainty that someday they would arrive at the world's supremacy. But the whole history of the Israel gave the lie to the hopes. After the death of Solomon, the kingdom was small enough to begin with, split into two, Rehoboam and Jeroboam, and so lost its unity. The northern kingdom with its big capital the Samaria vanished within the last quarter of the 8th century BC, before assaulted of the Assyrians, never again reappeared in history, and it now lost 10 tribes. The southern kingdom, with its capital of Jerusalem, were reduced to be slavery and exile by the Babylonian and the early part of the 6th century BC. It was later the subject state of the Persian, Greek, and Romans. History for the Jews was a catalogue of the disasters from which is become clear that no human deliverer could deliver or rescue them. It a difficult book. Of course, it would be silly to pretend that the Revelation or give it its Greek name Apocalypse. It is an easy book to understand. The style and the imaginary found in Revelations, it's often quite bizarre. Seals are broken, trumpets blown, bowls are emptied on earth, strange beasts appeared either from the sea or the land. One appears with the 10 horns and the 7 eighths, another with a voice of a dragon and the horns of the lamb. There are the angels, demons, lambs, lions, and a horse, together with a much blood, smoke, fire, hails, thunder, and lightning. The 2 ages. Generally speaking, the Jews divided all history into 2 ages. There was in the present age, which is wholly bad and beyond rescue. All the ages can look forward to his judgment of God, which will entail its total destructions. The Jewish therefore waited for the end of the things as they are. There was an age which is to come, which was to be wholly good, the golden age of God, in which would be peace, prosperity, and righteousness, and God's chosen people would at last be vindicated and receive the place that was theirs by right. The Jews believed that the change would never be brought about by human agency, and therefore looked for the direct intervention of God. He would come standing on the stage of history to blast the present world out to existence and bring in his golden time. In God's golden time, the day of the coming of the Lord was called the day of the Lord, and was to be terrible time of terror and destruction and judgment, which would be the birth pangs of the new age. All apocalyptic literatures deals with these events, the sin of the present age, the terrors of the time between, and the blessing of the time to come. It is entirely composed of the dreams and the vision of the end. That means that all apocalyptic literature is necessarily cryptic. It is continually attempting to be described that understandable, to say that be unsayable, to point the unpointable. This is the further by the another fact. It was only natural that this apocalyptic vision should be flamed more brightly in the minds of men living under tyranny and oppression. The more some alien power held them down, and the more they dreamed of the destruction of the power on their own vindications. But it would only have the worsen and the situation if that oppressing power could have understood these dreams. Such a writing would have been seems to the works of the rebellious revolutionaries. Such books therefore were frequently written in court, deliberately couches expressed in the words of pacified ban, couched in a simple language which was unintelligible to the outsider. On this are many causes in which they must remain unintelligible, because the key to the code no longer exists. But the more we know about the historical background such a book, the better we can interpret them. The revelation, all this the precious picture of our revelation. There are any number of Jewish apocalypses. Enoch, the sibling oracles and the testament of the 12 patriarchs, Patriarch, the ascension of the Isaiah, assumption of the Moses, and apocalypse of the Baruch, fourth Ezra. Our revelation is a Christian apocalypse. It is the only one in the New Testament. It is written exactly on the Jewish pattern and follow the basic conception of the two age. The only difference is that for the day of the Lord is substituted the coming power of Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. May God bless you all richly. Amen.